Okay, so I'm gonna be breaking down the trade that I took yesterday. Okay, this trade was unfortunately a loss. Okay, I'm gonna break it down in the high time frame and also the entry model just to obviously go over basically what I saw at that time. Okay, now first things first, bias. Bias was a little bit up in the air for me. Okay, reason being, if I was going to daily here quickly, we can see that we are basically just at the EQ here. We also didn't cause a change in state of delivery, which made this trade here obviously being along slightly kind of against bias. Now, one thing that also did kind of maybe want to take the long was the fact that we didn't cause a 4 hourly change state of delivery. Okay, so we wouldn't get that down here. This to me is just internal, which is irrelevant for me. Okay, so I was basically looking for what the fuck. Okay, anyway, I was basically looking for from this BPR here. Okay, this is our 4 hourly BPR. Okay, we disrespected the bearish fair value gap, and then we displaced through it, obviously leaving a balanced price range. Okay, so this is the other issue that was wrong with this chart. Okay, just in terms of bias, if we are going to be counting this basically as our sort of break of structure or internal CRSD, whatever you want to call it. Okay, this is a very weak low. Okay, or sorry, a very weak high. Okay, if we look at it here, if we're counting this as the high, it's not a high quality high in my opinion. Okay, this to me acts as an indecision candle. Okay, we don't know whether or not we are bullish or bearish, which makes this a little bit harder to read in terms of bias. Okay, now with that being said, I still took the trade. Okay, I waited until price came into this PY here. Okay, so this is the 4 hourly BPR. I wanted to see us, this was at 11, sorry, yeah. So I wanted to see us manipulate London lows, which we got here. These acts as relatively equal lows down here. Relatively equal lows, okay. Okay, and then all I was looking for was then some sort of eventual. Okay, now this is the other issue, in my opinion, with this trade. Okay, so you can see we took out relatively equal lows on the hourly. This in itself is a good displacement. Okay, we can see here that we, from sweeping this liquidity here, we reacted. Okay, so we basically turtle soup. So although this is relatively equal lows, it also acts as turtle soup. Okay, so it basically took our liquidity into a fair value gap. Okay, now from there we cause our change in state of delivery. Okay, we also then caused our market structure shift obviously up here as well. Okay, now my entry was slightly actually worse than that. I got in at about, it's about here. Here's nearly 300. It's about here was my entry. Okay, now not the world's best entry. Okay, by absolutely any means. I was basically hoping that low of the week was in from here. Okay, so we'll just take it back. Just one more candle. Okay, which is here. I was expecting this to be low of the week. So this low here, I was hoping and expecting this to be the low of the week, which ultimately, obviously, it didn't do. Okay, now, there is another con to this trade as well. Okay, and this is the fact that we swept out Thursday high, basically era liquidity during Asian session. That would have ultimately have been, obviously, my draw. Obviously, we did have an untapped Asian high to target. However, one thing that I've noticed is that when we do have, let's say, previous day high being swept and then we go downwards, if I then take a trade too long up to that high, more often than not it does lose. So it's something that I'm obviously data collecting and will be watching going forward as well. Okay, obviously we're in an hourly fair value gap as well. Okay, in the discount of this swing, so to speak. Okay, so back down to here. Okay, as I said, entry was about here. really wasn't the greatest. Okay, as I said, I was literally based this off the fact that we had, or I was expecting the low of the week to be in, which wasn't the case. Okay, now I was hoping we got SMC here. Okay, one thing I also didn't like was the fact that we actually basically had relatively good hours down here as well, which, if anyone knows, acts as a straw drop for price. Okay, if we go back here, we can see that we didn't. We had the exact same with GE. Okay, so once price came up here, okay, once price came back up here and closed above here, I thought that we were going to be plain sailing. I thought that we would have been going up here, and then we would have went down. However, obviously, if we just skip it forward, we can see that price just completely dumped. Okay, now I probably should have, once we failed to basically climb more, once we saw 5 minute change side delivery, I probably should have went break even. However, I wanted to obviously trust my bias, what I thought was going to happen, but obviously ultimately it ended up losing on the day. Okay, once again, this is why I meant to say, once we didn't break above this high here again and we saw this, well, obviously when this happened, I was out, so I wasn't actually looking at it. However, this, once you don't close above these highs here, for me it's indicating that we're probably now going to be going down. Okay, which is obviously what happens. We obviously continue down, and then ultimately took me out. Okay, so really wasn't the best trade. Lost about, I think, $560, about 5.4 I think it was, on this trade on my funded account. That wasn't the best trade from me. It's definitely been tough conditions. I can't say that trade has been easy the last while for Forex, but obviously it's the name of the game. Okay, obviously you get good months, obviously you get bad months, different periods. You know, you have to adapt into these periods, and obviously I took a loss here. It's time for me to obviously go over this loss, analyze what could I have done better. I definitely know cons to this trade. It's something I definitely will be looking to change and to adapt to going forward. But that's obviously the beauty of trading. Okay, you're always learning. There's always something to learn. There's no such thing as knowing it all within trading. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the trades. I don't know whether or not I'm going to trade for the rest of the week, because I don't think we're in a really that good of a place at the moment. So I'll have to wait and see. Okay, if I do take any trades, obviously I will post them onto the YouTube. So make sure that you are subscribed, and also follow me over on Instagram as well for daily updates as well. Okay.